Hello Factorio people, welcome back to the broadcasts from Space Age. Semi-streamlined playthrough let's play / walkthrough / tutorial. I haven't played as much this week as I would have liked. I'm still not very well. You may remember last time I was beginning to be not very well, and I continue to be not very well. But I'll do my best. We've done some stuff. The rocket is going to be launched today, I promise you. So that is at least a lot of progress. Thank you for the continued support with the likes and the comments and the subscriptions and things. If you want to continue to do that for me, that would be great. Other than that, let's jump straight into it, shall we? Alright, this is how we left the base last time. We asked the robots to change all of the belts up to red belts. In what? In what science will later go on to call a mistake. I think the biggest issue with this... I said in the last episode that you definitely shouldn't do this, and I stand by that. You're better off upgrading individual lines of production one at a time. But also, you're better off not designing this like this. In the blueprint book, which is linked in the description below, where you can find all the blueprints we're using in this playthrough so far, I've changed the fast belts one to basically switch this around so that your undergrounds are made first. So you can see here the issue is that we can make belts, fair enough, but we also need a whole bunch of undergrounds to go, iron gear wheels to go into undergrounds. And so we won't really get any undergrounds made, even if all of these belts were red and working quickly, even with the iron all the way up here working quickly. We're still not really going to get that many undergrounds. So the blueprint is changed, and I recommend you use it the other way around. What? No. Why isn't it changed? Oh, it is changed. It's exactly the same footprint. It confused me. Sorry, it confused me. You see, it's exactly the same footprint, but all of the... It's going to do a Control-Shift build on there. There we go. That forces that down. So that updates all of this. The logistics filters are now different, but that will update. So now we'll actually get the undergrounds first. And as I've said before, it's important when you do your upgrade to... your system is still only ever going to be as fast as your slowest belt. It doesn't matter if it's red belts all the way up. If this belt here is still yellow, then your entire iron throughput, at least on this section, is limited to 15 items per second, and that's just going to give you your bottleneck. So, yes, okay. So we're researching the rocket silo because we want to get the rocket launch done today, but we also want to make sure that we get production science and utility science done today, because these give you access to important things that you definitely want before you leave the planet. There is an achievement for doing this, going to another planet and using another planet's science pack before you ever make a yellow or a purple science pack, but I don't recommend it. That would be very difficult. And we're going to Fulgora first, so we may need... no, sorry, Vulcanus. We're going to Vulcanus first, so we may need elevated rails. But it also gives us access to beacons, which are very important. It gives us access to Mark III assemblers, which are very good. Yellow gives us access to... oh yes, portable fission reactors so that we can get better power armor stuff. So yeah, we definitely want to get all that sorted. Thankfully yellow is very easy, it's purple that's the issue. Yellow science just needs low density structures, which you don't already have in the base. But production science needs annoying things, so let's fast forward a little bit, see how many of the robots have finished their belt job, and see what else we can get done. So low density structures are very easy. It's the standard 2 in, 1 out, 2 belts in, 1 belt out build that we've used quite a lot recently, and this is in the episode 6 blueprint book, low density structures. This takes a decent amount of toll on your copper supply. If I get the rate calculator out, this needs a whole yellow belt of copper. We're on 2 red belts of copper, at least we will be when all of the upgrades get done. So it's important to also recognise how much of your entire supply is being used. So like a lot of copper goes into this, for example, and in green circuits especially, there's a lot of copper being used. And copper is, you know, we've only got this one small patch, and even though the patches are rich, did up the richness, didn't really up the size or anything like that, not hugely. And that's more so that we still have to add extra patches into the supply, but we won't have to do it as often, which is mostly why I up the richness and not worry too much about upping the size, because, yeah. And there are more of them as well, if I remember. I don't know. Oh god, I'm so ill. You know when you're ill and you don't really realise how ill you are until you like try and start doing something normally? You know, you're at home, you're in bed, you're ill, you're like, oh, I'm ill, I feel bad. Because I am okay, I suppose, and then you start doing something normal, and then you're like, oh god, I really am ill, aren't I? The rocket silo's finished researching, and you can see here that I've added a very small production line for concrete. Concrete builds very quickly, doesn't need much, just needs some of the bricks that we've been making, some iron ore and some water. But concrete goes into the rocket silo, which we will certainly need, and we'll need a supply of concrete later for nuclear power, for example, and the cargo landing pads I guess we need. Sorry, I don't know why I've started whispering. No, I do know why I've started whispering, it's because I'm out of breath. It's because I can't breathe and talk at the same time at the moment, for obvious reasons. So I have added the... No, I haven't. That's a complete lie. I haven't added the concrete to the blueprint book. I don't need to do that. You can work this one out for yourselves. This is an exercise for the reader. Make concrete somewhere, basically. Because you need it for the silo and a few other things, but you don't really need it on the bus. And eventually you will get rid of this when you build your big logistics mall. Okay. And as you can see, one mining iron ore is more than enough for this. You could put iron ore on the bus for this reason, and then when you move this to the logistics mall, you need iron ore coming in from somewhere to do this. It is annoying, it is frustrating, it's easy to forget that iron ore is an ingredient outside of the furnace stacks, but only for the concrete. But it's less of an issue in Space Age, because you can drop iron ore down from space. So you don't need it to be on the bus as much. You can also see here that I still haven't worked out that this is a terrible idea, that the undergrounds need to be first. As soon as we run out of these underground belts, we're going to make loads and loads and loads of these, and then we'll continue to make up to 2,000 of them before even the iron gear wheels go through. A few of them will sneak through, but one set needs 40, so this is extremely slow, as you can see. The whole process isn't that slow. Like, the actual making all of these belts is not bad. You know? Been making, on average, over the last 10 minutes, 66.7 a minute. And we need about 2,000. So, you know, it's a big job, but it's going to have to be done at some point. So we'll use this time to start designing other things. So we've got the low-density structures on the bus now, so we can now make... We do now have everything we need to make both yellow science and productivity science, and we have researched them. So let me just queue up some military researches while we then design the yellow science and purple science builds. Okay, purple science. Everyone knows that it's awful, but here it is. I don't realise until it's too late that these are missing, but that is updated in the blueprint. To make production science, you need rails, you need electric furnaces, and you need productivity modules. You don't bus any of those, but they are made from ingredients that are readily available on the bus. It's more a ratios issue. So here's my favourite ratios mod. It's called Rate Calculator. Highly recommend it. You just click and drag over the stuff. This overproduces rails by half an assembly machine, this overproduces sticks for the rails by half an assembly machine, and this overproduces furnaces by a third of an assembly machine. But the rest of it is at ratio. In the blueprint is included the the constant combinators there just to show you which item needs to come in on which belt. And so the raw ingredients, or the bus ingredients, are green circuits, red circuits, bricks, steel, stone, a bit more steel, and some iron for the iron sticks. It's always going to be an ugly build. Really, this is as nice as I could be bothered to make it. As I say, I'm very ill. That's my excuse. What I'm not happy about, and what I want to talk about briefly, is how far away it is from the labs. So this is one of the downsides of a bus base, or at least one of the downsides of being not a very bright man like me, is that I always put my science at the beginning of the bus, where I then end up making the red and green science. Which then means that you have to belt the sciences back, but the issue with that is that as you go up the tech tree and the sciences become more and more expensive, your buffer, your belt buffer, so like, if you think of the amount of resources that are sat on this belt, 36 red belts, 36 times 8 is some ungodly number, 278. 278 science packs of green and red science. That's not that much stuff. It's only some copper, some iron gear wheels, and a bit more for the transport belts and the inserters. But when you consider the sheer number of belts going from here, you know, this is already at least 50, that's 55, and then all the way across, you know, the number of actual resources you've got sat on this belt doing nothing. It's not great. Especially at this point in the game where, you know, processing units are quite valuable, low density structures are quite valuable. This only makes 52 processing units a minute, and this needs 30 of them. That doesn't leave very many to go onwards into the rocket silos and things, because processing units are an ingredient in the rocket. So by the time this is all fully backed up, even if it ever gets fully backed up, I suppose the answer is to never let it get fully backed up, but it will become backed up at some point. Like, there's no way around it, because not all of the sciences need yellow science. Like, once we can do some of these yellow science researches, but once we want to start doing space science researches, we're just going to turn off yellow science. The answer then, in that case, is to not make the science, or at least not output the science, if there is more than X amount on the bus already, which you can do quite easily. You can hook up the circuit network to a belt, and it's very easy now to read the entire belt. It never used to be this easy, but you can read the entire belt forever. The signal is sent continuously as long as the items are on the belt. And just turn off these inserters if there are already more than whatever amount you're happy with. So like, this is making 45 a minute, so you could say 450, so once there's more than 10 minutes of science on the belt. But you know, 10 minutes of science on the belt, that is still a lot of processing units, flying robot frames, low density structures. So really, it's up to you. I'm not going to do it. You could do it. It's certainly a downside of this system of having your science packs very far away from the labs. I could move the labs, of course, at this point, but the robots have got enough to do as it is, so maybe I'll move them later. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that briefly. I thought it was interesting. Yellow science doesn't really need talking about. It's just 3 ingredients that we have on the bus. You just throw them in, throw them out. It's really the purple science that is the issue. This speed of assembler and this speed of inserter will match. You do need a lot of rails going in and out to keep this up to date, so that there's never a shortage. But it does work for now. It might not work so well when we upgrade all of these to Mark III assembly machines, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, as is our favourite phrase around here. The rocket fuel also, was that in last time? I don't remember. Let's talk about it anyway. I don't remember. I'm so ill, man. Oh my god. Rocket fuel, thankfully, is just light oil, which we've got on the bus already. Can't believe I didn't do a very good job of it making sure that this was sorted. So all we need to do is just plug the light oil from the... Oh, that's frustrating. Plug the light oil from the bus into the system already, and there we go. We've got rocket fuel being made. There's no way to get that across there, but that's fine. That is reflected in the blueprint. I do remember that that is wrong. Yeah, okay, so rocket fuel is relatively easy. One chemical plant making solid fuel from light oil will be enough to supply 2 of these. I went backwards and forwards on various designs with this, but I decided that this was the way I wanted to do it. At one point I had, you know, like 8 chemical plants outputting onto a belt that went into 16 of these. But I realised the issue with that is that it's not scalable. With this, if I need more rocket fuel and I upgrade light oil production, it's very easy for me to just copy and paste this and stick it on the end, which you can see I've done that philosophy for most of the builds. At least where possible. Like, we can't really do that with this, because this is exactly enough copper wire to feed all of these machines, and the same with this. I think, in fact, this is too many. Yeah, this is in fact too many, but I'm going to put speed modules down at some point. You can't put productivity modules in this pipe output, because it's not an intermediate product. It's in the logistics tab, so you can't productivity module it. Okay. So you can see that the belts are, you know, almost done. It's the undergrounds that are the problem. Even though it's only 141 undergrounds, that is still a lot of gear wheels to use. And even when robots don't need to pick any of these up anymore, it's still not going to make the belts, the undergrounds, very quickly, because I've asked this to keep making a stockpile of 2,000 red belts. So that's the reason why I eventually turn it around. One day I'll do that with my life. And then immediately cough into the microphone. Brilliant. Excellent, excellent YouTube content. Alright, let's fast forward a little bit, shall we? All the belts are done. All the flashing is gone. That's good. Yellow science is being made, purple science is being made. As I say, I realise all too late that that doesn't work. Unless you do those. Also, these need to be fast inserters. Which is also irritating. As I say, I'm not at my best, folks. I'm not at my best. What can I say? Don't worry, all of these changes are reflected in the blueprint book. I think. I hope they are. Alright, so we've literally doubled the throughput of the base now. Every single belt is now 30 items a second rather than 15, so this is a big upgrade, generally. Unfortunately, that's not reflected in the inputs, and as we start to actually use this upgraded amount of stuff, we can see here that things are starting to flag ever so slightly. Ever so slightly. So we need to do a brief housekeeping phase, because things are very quickly not going to keep up. Like, these have an internal buffer of 100 plates, but eventually they will run out, and then, so that's kind of what we're running on now. So these, you can see here with the mod bottleneck light that these still have 100, these are got the blue light, which means they're not working, but they're not working for a good reason, i.e. they're full, as opposed to a red light, which means they're not working for a bad reason. They don't have any ingredients. But you can see that this one is already failing. Now we're on yellow. Oh, yellow is not working for a bad reason. So already the iron ore of this one is not working because, you know, we're still on our old crappy mining design. It's not very efficient space-wise. These are starting to empty out. Same with the copper here, because the Roboport network doesn't come down here. We need to do a big housekeeping phase, basically, and it's already failing. So we've got the infrastructure now for 30 items a second for everything, so we need to just make sure that we've actually we're plugging that much into the base. So let's do my favourite, let's do a housekeeping phase. Hello, you join me live from the iron mines. Step 1 of the housekeeping phase is to improve the design of the miners. We were on the old design now, which is in Book 2, tileable basic mining. You can see the downside of this is that you lose a lot of space to the power poles. Now that we've got faster belts and we're happy making underground belts en masse, we can start abusing the underground belts to make space for power poles, which means we can have a lot of miners, a lot more miners in one row. So you'll find this in the episode 6 book, of course, Mining Mark II. It's a much smaller tileable section as well, because that's the reach of a power pole. And of course this is on snap to grid relative, so that you can just click and drag it around your ore patch for you, and that's why the one belt sticks out at the end, because if this were here as part of that design, then if you're like me, you would have to then trim that one on the end when this was on, like if this was on the edge, and you'd need the other one sticking out the front anyway to get things moving along. So this is what I like to use for the Mark II mining design. This will see you through basically until you get more efficient miners, or you could start moving to robotic mining, which I never do because I don't like it. But so I put this iron mine in. I got rid of the concrete. Now that we've built a backlog of concrete, we won't really need to worry about concrete until we get the logistics mall set up. And this iron goes all the way down and just plugs into the existing lines. But input priority the old patch first, just so that you can see how poor this was once everything started getting sorted. Same with the copper. So I upgraded this copper mine to the same design. Put a row report down there so I stop having to walk around. And then plugged in this patch as well, so that's that done. Yep, here's the actual change of the underground, so already we can see that that is much, much better. You definitely need to do this now. If you've not done this yet, do it now, because even this tileable mining design thing, even that needs 34 undergrounds. So you really, really want that done. It doesn't... It's such a silly thing. I feel quite foolish to have not noticed that before, really. So the red belts are backing up, that's nice. And then I've added some speed modules to the very rudimentary module build. You can't make Mark II modules until you've set up space platforms and stuff, so you really don't need to worry about that. You can see red circuits are failing quite miserably, but I've added speed modules because, as I say, there are a few things that we can't prod module, but we do want to increase the speed of. And it's just nice to have some speed modules in your back pocket, really, just in case, you know, just in case. Also, they go into like personal armor and stuff. I think, yeah, they go into Power Armor Mark II, which we're definitely going to have very soon. Just need Military Mark IV done. So that was a housekeeping phase. So beyond red circuits just being a bit poor, which is not really much we can do about that beyond just adding another module of this somewhere. We really probably should do that. But this makes 180 a minute. 180 of them go into the module build, which we should probably this will become full quite soon. Maybe we should already say that that's full. We probably don't need more than 100 of that. These are probably overkill. That's fine. So this will become full very soon. 97.2 of them go into this, and 165 of them go into this. So yeah, red circuits are atrocious. I should have left more space for red circuits, basically. It's probably sensible to just paste this build over the electric engine unit build and put the engine unit build somewhere else. It does go into blue science, but you know, maybe we could squeeze it in here or something. Will that work? It would be ugly, but it would fit. So yeah, that's my big advice to you, is make sure you leave a lot more space for red circuits. Like, build one module of it, but just make sure that you have got more space. Maybe I'll move military science somewhere, and I'll put another set of it here, and I'll move military science somewhere else. Because red circuits is almost certainly going to be the bottleneck moving forward. But alas. So we can start thinking about launching bloody rockets. Hooray! The only thing we need to set up really is a silo, which we can build. I've got all the stuff on me to build a rocket silo. But we do need to set up a little brief assembly line for space platform foundations, because space platform foundations, you need those to go onto the space platform, and you need them to make a space platform starter pack, and you can't do anything without this. Let me just wait for this rocket silo to finish being made. We can do some of this stuff live, can't we? The video's not quite half an hour yet. It's alright. How's it going, everybody? You alright? In our own little niche corner of the internet here. We have fun. We have fun. Where did it go? Rocket silo! They've added an actual graphic for the rocket part, which is nice. It needs processing units, low density structures, and rocket fuel. So we'll just bust those in. It's helpful for it to be near the logistics network as well, because you can basically have to eventually use the logistics network to send stuff into space, because we're not going to be on this planet all the time, so we're going to want the robots to be able to do this, so make sure it's in your logistics network. We'll get that set up and we'll launch a rocket. Hooray! Thankfully Space Platform Foundation is very easy, there's just steel and copper. It does add even more of a bottleneck on the steel, but whatever, it is what it is. I forgot to mention that obviously when you put the third row of science packs into the labs, you need to do some magic here with long inserters to make sure that they can all reach. That is in the blueprint book as well under labs. We'll need to change that again once we get the space science coming down, but it's not that complicated. We've done all the research that we can do without starting to use purple, yellow or white science, so I thought I would leave it. The rocket is ready to go. I've put productivity modules in. They do make the rocket launching slower by 5% each, but with a total of 16% productivity it turns 50 processing units into, what's that? 16% of 50. Anybody? Anyone run the numbers on that? I suppose 100 would be 16, so 42. Turns 50 processing units into 42 processing units to launch a rocket, which, you know, is not nothing, especially in the early game. I have left space for more. Eventually I'm going to want them. But for now, one is fine. And I've got the space platform starter pack. I just built it by hand. And it's just a simple case of opening the rocket, putting the rocket inventory in, and building a new space platform. I don't know what to call it. I can rename it at any point I want, so if anyone wants to leave a comment about it. But seeing as this is the last episode I'm going to probably record before Christmas, in fact it certainly will be, I guess we should call it A Star is Born. A Star is Bron. Yeah, okay, alright, we're calling it Bron. We're calling it Bron Star. There we go, we worked it out. Godspeed, Bron Star. Godspeed. Thanks for autosave. Hooray! Consume the first space platform starter pack at 12 hours and 50 minutes. That's not too bad, is it? For a very slow player like me. In peaceful mode, it's kind of atrocious, I guess. Right, so now, if we go into map view, we can look at the space platform, and we can finally see the view planets in orbit mod in all of its wondrous glory. How amazing is that? Kind of jumps around a bit, doesn't it? That's a bit not very good. Why does it do that? That's awful. I'm sorry. Maybe there's a setting. So we've got the space platform now. And with the space platform foundation, we can start expanding stuff, and we'll launch more rockets, and we'll get all that good stuff done. Obviously, we're going to call it a day here. We can get space science sorted next time. Because now that we've launched the space platform, we can actually start making the asteroid crushers and do all of those glorious things. We can't do any more than that right now. So yes, thank you so much for watching. Sorry about being quite so ill as this. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please let me know with a like and a comment. And as I say, this is the last episode I'm going to put out before Christmas. So if hope you have a nice Christmas period. I hope you play lots of Factorio. And yeah, see you next time. I want to say see you next year. Banter. Probably won't be next year. I probably will try and put an episode out in between Christmas and New Year, but Wednesdays and Sundays, that's the plan, right? That's always been the plan. Just Christmas happens to fall. Christmas and New Year fall quite neatly for me. For that now, for me. How does your Christmas and New Year fall? Alright, that's enough waffling. See you later. Bye-bye.